The Yaterans were on the brink of victory, with only humanity's secret fleet standing between them and total galactic domination. Supreme Commander Gruss watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction as his forces pushed the Galactic Alliance back, system by system. The pathetic coalition of lesser species had fought bravely, but they were no match for the might of the Yateran Empire. Soon they would be crushed beneath his boot, like so many before them. For years, the Yaterans had spread across the stars like a plague, conquering dozens of worlds and enslaving or exterminating any who dared resist. The Galactic Alliance had tried to stop them, but they were weak, bound by their foolish ideals of peace and cooperation. They lacked the strength and ruthlessness to do what was necessary to win. But there was one species that Gruss had overlooked, a young race from a small, unremarkable planet called Earth. The humans had stayed out of the war so far, content to hide behind the borders of their tiny domain. Gruss had dismissed them as irrelevant, just another primitive culture to be swept aside in due time. He had no idea how wrong he was. On the remote colony of New Terra, far from the front lines, Joshua Grant lived a simple life as a farmer. He had left his past as a starfighter pilot behind, haunted by the memories of friends lost in battle. But when an escaped Galactic Alliance prisoner crash-landed near his homestead, bearing a desperate plea for help, Joshua knew he couldn't hide from the war any longer. The alien revealed a terrifying truth. The Yaterans had developed a new weapon, one capable of destroying entire planets. With this devastating power at their disposal, they would be unstoppable. The Galactic Alliance was on its last legs, unable to hold out much longer against the onslaught. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Joshua wrestled with the decision to get involved, torn between his desire for peace and his duty to protect the innocent. But deep down, he knew he had no choice. He couldn't stand by and watch as countless lives were snuffed out by Yateran aggression. He reached out to his old wingman, Marcus Reeves, hoping for guidance. What Marcus told him changed everything. For years, the Earth Defense Force had been secretly preparing for this very moment, building a powerful fleet of advanced warships and training an elite force of pilots. They had known that one day humanity might be called upon to fight for the freedom of the galaxy. That day had come. Marcus urged Joshua to return to the cockpit and join the EDF's secret armada. It was a daunting prospect, facing the most powerful enemy humanity had ever encountered. But Joshua knew that if he didn't act, there might not be a galaxy left to save. As he prepared to embark on his most dangerous mission yet, Joshua couldn't help but reflect on the state of the war. The Yaterans had left a trail of destruction in their wake, burning worlds and shattering countless lives. Even the once mighty Galactic Alliance was crumbling, unable to withstand the relentless assault. But there was still hope. The Ven, a proud warrior race, fought on with unbreakable resolve. The enigmatic Kelnai waged a secret war from the shadows. And now, humanity would join the fray, bringing the full might of its secret fleet to bear against the Yateran menace. The stage was set for a final confrontation, one that would determine the fate of billions. In the darkest hour, with all seeming lost, the torch of hope rested in the hands of Joshua Grant and the brave men and women of Earth's hidden armada. Against impossible odds, they would fight to the bitter end, for the freedom of the galaxy and the future of all sentient life. It was humanity's greatest challenge, and its finest hour. The Yaterans thought they had already won, but they were about to learn the true meaning of human strength and courage. The war had seemed lost, but with the arrival of Earth's secret fleet, everything was about to change. And God help any Yateran who stood in humanity's way. As the secret fleet prepared for their daring mission, Joshua stepped into the briefing room on the heavily guarded EDF base. The room was abuzz with activity, pilots and officers hurrying about with a sense of urgency. In the center of the room stood Admiral Nathaniel Steele, his presence commanding attention from all those present. Joshua approached the Admiral, who greeted him with a firm handshake. "Lieutenant Grant, I presume. I've heard good things about you. We're going to need every bit of skill and courage you've got for this mission." Admiral Steele activated a holographic display, showing a detailed map of the Cadros system. Intelligence reports indicate that the Yatarans are rushing to mass-produce their new planet-killer weapon at a facility on Cadros Prime. If we can take out that factory, we might just buy the Alliance the time it needs to regroup and mount a counterattack. Joshua nodded, studying the map intently. What's our plan of attack, sir? We'll be jumping into the system and engaging the Yataran forces directly. While we keep them occupied, a strike team led by your old wingman, Marcus Reeves, will infiltrate the facility and plant explosives at key points. If all goes well, we'll cripple their production capabilities and deal a serious blow to their war effort. As the fleet emerged from hyperspace in the Cadros system, they were immediately greeted by a massive Yataran force. At the center of the enemy formation was the Annihilator, Supreme Commander Gruss's fearsome flagship. The space around Cadros Prime erupted into a fierce battle, with the human ships using their advanced technology and skilled pilots to outmaneuver the Yadaran forces. Joshua, in his state-of-the-art starfighter, weaved through the enemy ranks, taking out wave after wave of Yataran fighters with precision and skill. "Nice shooting, Grant!" Admiral Steele's voice crackled over the comm. "Keep it up, and we might just make it out of this in one piece." On the surface of Cadros Prime, Marcus Reeves and his strike team fought their way through the heavily guarded weapons facility. They planted explosives at critical junctures, preparing to cripple the factory and put an end to the Yataran's planet-killer production. Back in space, the tide of the battle suddenly turned as Gruss deployed a squadron of prototype fighters equipped with miniaturized versions of the planet-killer weapon. These deadly ships began tearing through the EDF fleet, destroying several ships with a single shot. Joshua quickly assessed the situation and rallied his squadron. "Listen up, everyone. We need to take out those prototype fighters before they wipe us all out. Follow me into that asteroid field. We'll use the rocks for cover and neutralize their advantage." Leading the Yatarans into the treacherous asteroid field, Joshua used his piloting skills to outmaneuver the enemy ships. The prototype fighters struggled to navigate the rocky terrain, and Joshua's squadron picked them off one by one. Just as the strike team succeeded in destroying the weapons facility on Cadros Prime, Joshua's fighter was suddenly caught in a tractor beam emanating from the Annihilator. Despite his best efforts to break free, he was dragged aboard Gruss's flagship and brought before the Supreme Commander himself. On the bridge of the Annihilator, Gruss sneered at Joshua, mocking humanity's desperate attempt to resist the Yataran Empire. "Foolish human. Do you really think you can stop us? The weapons facility you just destroyed was merely a decoy. Our true planet killer is already operational and ready to unleash destruction upon the galaxy." As Yataran soldiers dragged Joshua away to the brig, he overheard two officers discussing the location of the real planet killer weapon. This crucial information could turn the tide of the war. But first, Joshua would need to find a way to escape the Annihilator and warn the EDF before it was too late. The destiny of the universe hung in the balance as Joshua sat in his cell, his mind racing to formulate a plan. The Yatarans were on the cusp of victory, and only the bravery and skill of the EDF's secret fleet stood between them and total domination. Joshua knew that he had to act fast, for the survival of the Galactic Alliance and countless worlds depended on his next move. The acrid smell of burning fuel filled Joshua's nostrils as he watched the remnants of his fighter plummet toward Necros's surface. His parachute billowed above him, slowing his descent through the alien atmosphere. The sound of explosions and weapons fire echoed in the distance. As Joshua touched down on Necros soil, he quickly detached his parachute and scanned his surroundings. The landscape was barren and rocky, dotted with strange crystalline formations that glowed faintly in the dim light of the planet's twin suns. He activated his emergency beacon, hoping against hope that someone from the EDF would pick up the signal. The odds of rescue seemed slim, given the chaos of the battle raging overhead. Joshua's combat instincts kicked in. He needed to find cover and assess the situation. As he moved toward a nearby rock formation, his mind raced back to the ceremony just days earlier. The mood aboard the EDF flagship had been somber as the crew gathered to honor their fallen leader. Admiral Steele's absence deeply affected on everyone. Joshua stood at attention in his dress uniform as Marcus Reeves stepped forward to accept command. "With a heavy heart, I assume the duties of Fleet Admiral," Reeves said, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "Our victory came at a great cost, but Admiral Steele's sacrifice will not be in vain." After donning the insignia of his new rank, Reeves turned to face Joshua. "Lieutenant Grant, step forward." Joshua marched up and saluted crisply. "For valor above and beyond the call of duty, I hereby promote you to the rank of captain and induct you into the ranks of the EDF's elite starfighter corps," Reeves said, pinning new insignia to Joshua's collar. "Your actions saved countless lives and dealt a crippling blow to the enemy. Well done, Captain." The assembled crew erupted in applause, but the celebration was short-lived. Within hours, reports began flooding in of Yadaran attacks on human colonies. A distant explosion snapped Joshua back to the present. He crouched behind a boulder, peering out at the alien landscape. In the distance, he could make out the towering spires of a Yadaran city. Smoke rose from several locations where EDF forces had managed to strike their targets. The sound of engines made Joshua duck lower. A Yadaran patrol skimmer zoomed past his position, dripping with weapons. He held his breath until it disappeared over a ridge. Joshua checked his survival kit. Limited rations, a pistol with spare energy cells, and basic medical supplies. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. He knew his best chance of survival, and completing the mission, was to link up with any other EDF personnel who might have crash-landed nearby. As Joshua prepared to move out, his comm unit crackled to life. A familiar voice came through, distorted by static. "This is Admiral Reeves to any surviving EDF forces. We've suffered heavy losses, but the mission continues. Rally at the following coordinates. Good luck and Godspeed." Hope surged through Joshua. He wasn't alone after all. With restored dedication, he plotted a course toward the rally point and set off across the hostile terrain of Necros. The battle for humanity's survival and the future of the galaxy was just the beginning. But as long as brave souls like Joshua Grant drew breath, there was still hope. Joshua's fighter spiraled out of control, plummeting through Necros's toxic atmosphere, the cockpit filled with acrid smoke as warning alarms blared. He yanked the ejection handle, blasting free of the doomed craft moments before it erupted in a fireball. His parachute deployed, slowing his descent over the ravaged landscape below. Jagged rock formations and twisted metal debris littered the ground. In the distance, a massive weapons factory belched black smoke into the sky. Joshua hit the ground hard, pain shooting through his leg. He unclipped his parachute and dragged himself behind a boulder, surveying the alien terrain. His emergency beacon sparked and fizzled, damaged beyond repair in the crash. Night fell quickly on Necros, plunging the world into near-total darkness. Joshua limped toward the weapons factory, hoping to find shelter or allies. His breath came in ragged gasps as he pushed through the pain. A piercing shriek cut through the air. Joshua ducked behind a pile of rubble as a Yadaran patrol skimmer zipped past, searchlights sweeping the ground. He held his breath until the skimmer vanished over a ridge. Joshua pressed on, using the factory's glow to guide him. He stumbled upon a concealed entrance to an underground tunnel network. The passageways twisted and turned, leading ever deeper beneath the surface. A metallic skittering echoed through the tunnels. Joshua pressed himself against the wall as a spider-like hunter-killer drone scuttled past on razor-sharp legs. Its sensors swept back and forth, searching for intruders. He crept forward only to freeze as a low growl rumbled from the darkness ahead. A nightmarish creature prowled into view, some unholy fusion of reptile and machine. Bioluminescent patches pulsed along its flanks as it sniffed the air. Joshua's hand inched toward his sidearm. The creature's head snapped in his direction, cybernetic eyes locking onto its prey. It lunged forward with terrifying speed. A burst of weapons fire erupted from further down the tunnel. The creature collapsed in a heap as several shadowy figures rushed forward. "Come with us if you want to live, human," a gravelly voice hissed. Joshua found himself whisked away by a group of Yadaran dissidents. They led him through a maze of tunnels to a hidden base beneath the factory. Makeshift bunks and comm equipment filled the cramped space. The dissident leader, a battle-scarred Yadaran named Kex, explained their mission. "We've been working against Gruss for years, feeding intel to your Earth Defense Force." Joshua listened in stunned silence as Kex laid out their desperate plan. A Yadaran noble named Tarkus sought to overthrow Gruss. The dissidents believed they could use Tarkus to sue for peace. "You want me to help put another Yadaran on the throne?" Joshua asked incredulously. "After everything they've done?" Kex's compound eyes narrowed. "Tarkus is ruthless, yes, but he's not mad like Gruss. He knows this war will destroy us all if it continues." Joshua weighed his options. It was a huge risk, but what choice did he have? Stranded on an enemy world, it might be his only shot at survival and ending the war. "All right," he said finally. "I'm in. What's the plan?" Kex outlined a daring assault on the Imperial Palace. Using stolen access codes and inside knowledge, they would infiltrate Gruss's inner sanctum and eliminate him. As they geared up for the mission, Joshua couldn't shake a sense of unease. He was about to stake everything on the word of alien rebels and a power-hungry noble. But sometimes, he reflected grimly, you had to dance with the devil to protect the universe. The team moved out under cover of darkness, slipping past perimeter defenses. Joshua's heart pounded as they breached the palace walls. This was it. Succeed or die trying. They fought their way through waves of guards, inching closer to the throne room. Joshua's rifle ran dry as they reached the massive doors. He drew his sidearm, nodding to Kex. "For the future of both our peoples," the dissident leader said. They burst into the throne room, weapons blazing. But instead of the element of surprise, they found themselves surrounded by Gruss's elite Praetorian Guard. "Fools!" a deep voice boomed. Tarkus stepped into view, his towering form filled with biomechanical enhancements. "Did you really think I would betray my emperor?" Joshua's blood ran cold as he realized they'd walked right into a trap. The throne room erupted into chaos as a three-way battle exploded between Gruss's loyalists, the dissidents, and Joshua's team. Tarkus bore down on Joshua, augmented limbs lashing out with lethal precision. Joshua ducked and weaved, his smaller size giving him an edge in maneuverability. He emptied his pistol into Tarkus's chest, but the rounds sparked harmlessly off armored plating. Joshua snatched up a fallen guard's energy pike, using it to parry Tarkus's strikes. He managed to slip past the noble's guard, scoring a hit that left a deep gash in Tarkus's side. Howling with rage, Tarkus redoubled his assault. Joshua found himself driven back, barely fending off the relentless attacks. His arms burned with fatigue as he struggled to keep up. A lucky strike sent Tarkus stumbling. Joshua seized the opening, driving the energy pike deep into a gap in the noble's armor. Tarkus collapsed, cybernetic systems shorting out. Joshua turned victorious, only to feel white-hot agony lance through his abdomen. He looked down to see one of Gruss's armored limbs impaling him, lifting him off the ground. "You dare to challenge me?" Gruss snarled, his alien features twisted with contempt. "I am the supreme commander of the Yadaran Empire. Your pathetic rebellion ends here." Joshua coughed, blood trickling from his mouth. The room swam before his eyes as his life ebbed away. But even now, staring death in the face, he refused to give up. "You're wrong," he gasped. "What we started here, the hope we've given people, that can never die. Others will rise up to finish what we started." Gruss laughed cruelly. Bold words from a dead man. He raised another limb to deliver the killing blow. With his last ounce of strength, Joshua grabbed a discarded blaster. He jammed it against Gruss's chest and pulled the trigger. The gun's energy cell overloaded, unleashing a point-blank explosion that engulfed them both. Joshua felt searing heat wash over him as darkness closed in. The last thing he heard was the thunder of boots and Marcus Reeves's voice shouting orders. Then Joshua slipped into unconsciousness, hovering on the knife edge between life and death.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.